Well, Casey, it's been a very dramatic week in the tech industry, and you know what that means.
That's right, Kevin. Whenever a week gets particularly messy, the Hot Mess Express comes into the station, and I believe it has just arrived.
This is our segment where we run down the biggest messes of the week in tech and tell you just how hot we think they were.
Well, why don't we sort of dip into the boxcar, Kevin, and see what is on the train this week?
What does the train have for us?
All right. This first story comes to us from Reuters and is headlined, Musk says XAI to take legal action against Apple over App Store rankings. Kevin, on Monday, Elon Musk took to X to accuse Apple of antitrust violations, saying, quote, Apple is behaving in a manner that makes it impossible for any AI company besides OpenAI to reach number one in the App Store. Kevin, what did you make of this one?
Well, the billionaires are fighting, aren't they?
They are, because shortly thereafter, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman chimed in and said, quote, this is a remarkable claim given what I have heard alleged that Elon does to manipulate X to benefit himself and his own companies and harm his competitors and people he doesn't like. And it was then, Kevin, that Sam Altman tweeted a link to a platformer story from 2023 about how under Elon, X had adjusted ranking algorithms so that you would be shown his tweets before other people's.
Wow, that must have been a very exciting day for the platformer newsletter.
It was a great day for the platformer
No, but
newsletter.
this escalated into a fight, and Elon Musk accused Sam Altman of being a liar, and Sam responded back, I believe, that he wanted Elon to sign an affidavit saying that he had never tampered with the algorithms on X to favor his own companies and disfavor rivals.
Yes, and then an hour or so later, Elon responded, scam Altman lies as easily as he breathes.
Yeah, so basically this is a fight over Elon Musk's sort of paranoia that Apple is artificially sort of deflating the popularity of X and Grok, basically preventing it from reaching number one, even though he thinks it has way more downloads than the things that are at the top of that list.
Yes. Now, of course, journalists looked into this, and Business Insider reported that actually just a few months ago, DeepSeek, the Chinese open source AI app, went to number one in the App Store. And in fact, screenshots from when Grok 3 came out that were posted on X showed that Grok itself had indeed at one point hit number one in the App Store. So I have to say, I think this antitrust case is going to wrap up pretty quickly, Kevin.
Yes. It is interesting that the leading minds of our time, like, just, sit around and fight with each other on social media.
Well, and this does get into the question of how big a mess do we think this is? Because, of course, every time we play Hot Mess Express, after we discuss a story, we have to decide what sort of mess this is. While I think the antitrust case, as I say, will be never brought, I am interested in how big of a mess you think this is between Elon and Sam.
I think this is a mess that is on a slow boil. I think this is a hot mess that is going to get even hotter. I think these two have been on a collision course for quite some time. Elon Musk, of course, is one of the co-founders of OpenAI, and the two famously had a falling out, and now they really despise each other by the sound of it.
And they're in active litigation. And in fact, also this week, a court found that Elon Musk would have to face claims that he's been engaged in a multi-year harassment campaign against OpenAI. And on the flip side, Elon is pursuing claims that he was essentially defrauded when he donated a bunch of money to what he thought was always going to be a nonprofit, only to find out that it had for-profit ambitions.
Yes, and I think this only ends in one way, a cage match.
A cage match. Elon did previously say he was going to fight Mark Zuckerberg, but that never materialized.
Yeah, well, maybe this time. All right, let's bring around the Hot Mess Express for our next mess. This one comes to us from my colleague Trip Mickle at the New York Times. Is titled, U.S. government to take cut of Nvidia and AMD AI chip sales to China. This has been a big unfolding mess over the past week. Essentially, in order to greenlight sales of its H20 chip to Chinese companies, the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang, has been meeting with President Trump. He met with him at the White House last week. Trump reportedly demanded 20% of Nvidia's sales in China as sort of a kickback for allowing the sale of those chips. They've been restricted by export controls. Jensen Huang said, will you make it 15%? And 2 days later, the Trump administration granted Nvidia the license it needed to sell the chips in China.
And that's the art of the deal.
Casey, what do you make of this?
So this is a hot mess, Kevin. Trade negotiators say that this is unprecedented for the United States to do, and also likely unconstitutional. At the same time, who is going to stand up and say it's unconstitutional? I'm going to guess it's not going to be Nvidia or AMD, which are frothing at the mouth to sell these chips to the Chinese. So here's why I think this is so messy. On one hand, you have many China hawks in the administration who are saying we should restrict the flow of chips to China so that America maintains its dominance in AI, and also as a national security measure so that China doesn't pull ahead and create national security problems for us, right? And on the other hand, you just have Trump saying, I want 15% of sales to go to the U.S. government without even saying what that money is going to be spent on. So, the president has said that these chips are obsolete, and China actually has been quite skeptical of some of these chips and has even discouraged some of its companies from buying them. And it all just adds up to a big mess.
Yeah, it's a big mess. There's been additional reporting this week that U.S. authorities are actually putting trackers in some of these chip shipments abroad to crack down on smuggling, basically like hiding little AirTag-like devices inside these boxes so that they can tell if these things are being smuggled in circumvention of export controls. Yeah. So it's all just going to get really interesting really fast.
My favorite take on this came from my friend Nilay Patel over at The Verge, who posted on Blue Sky, what if instead of weird one-off extortion schemes, the government just collected meaningful and stable amounts of corporate tax revenue?
That'll never work.
I don't know. I thought it could be worth a shot.
Okay. What else is coming down the tracks, Casey?
Well, all right, let's see here. Next up... I can't believe this is real. The United Kingdom asks people to delete emails in order to save water during a drought. This is from our friends over at 404 Media, who report in the UK, the water shortage is so bad that the government is urging citizens to help save water by deleting old emails. It really helps lighten the load on water-hungry data centers, you see. I think they're being sarcastic there. Kevin, what did you make of the UK's new plan to get everyone to delete their emails?
Somehow, I don't think this is going to work. It's Andy Masley, who we've quoted on this show before, is sort of a blogger who examines some of these environmental claims about AI. He ran the numbers on this recommendation that the UK government said, and he found that to save as much water in data centers as fixing your toilet would save, a leaky toilet, you would need to delete something like 1.5 billion photos or 200 billion emails.
Wow.
So basically, this is not where the real water waste is coming from, and the UK government should feel very silly for recommending this.
Now, at the Hard4 podcast, we do get roughly 200 million pitches per week to bring on CEOs of company you've never heard of and don't want us to interview.
Yes.
But most people don't have that same volume.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say that this is not a hot mess, but a wet mess. That's my designation here.
Yes, but this is this at the risk of derailing what is essentially a comedy segment with the serious take. Mm-hmm. This water usage argument about ChatGPT and other chatbots, it needs to die. I'm sorry. I love the environment. I am worried about climate change. I do not want us wasting water. I try to take short showers, Casey.
Yeah, I can smell that.
But this is not the real problem. And I think we are falling for a misdirection by people who would have you believe that the problem with the climate right now is that people are using chatbots too much. This strikes me as the AI equivalent of the plastic straws argument, and I don't think it stands up to scrutiny any better.
Yes. I mean, now, look, we've had people on the show. I am relatively convinced that we should be concerned about the environmental impact of building new data centers, for example. But in general, I do not think that we want to personalize the climate crisis and make people feel like their tiny individual choices are going to be the way out of potential crisis.
Yeah. Now, I will say that if you're listening to the show and I've ever sent you an email that was embarrassing or incriminating, you definitely should delete that as part of your contribution to fighting climate change.
Here's what I will say about deleting email. It always makes me feel good. Like, you go ahead, at the end of the show today, maybe delete a few. It's not really going to help the environment that much, but then you'll have less email. You'll probably feel better. Particularly if it's unread. Delete it. All right. Next up, Kevin.
All right, this one is from The Verge. This is titled, Apple made a 24-karat gold and glass statue for Donald Trump. Under the threat of costly tariffs and amid promises to expand Apple's U.S.-based manufacturing, CEO Tim Cook brought a gift to a White House meeting last week, a large disc of iPhone glass that contained the Apple logo, Donald Trump's name, and Tim Cook's signature, set into a 24-karat gold base.
I guess this is kind of an extension of the Nvidia story. You know, it used to be we just sort of like had relatively free trade, you know, not a lot of tariffs. You didn't have to bribe the president to get what you want. But now we just live in a world where if you need something from the president, you can just make him a very fancy object, book a meeting at the White House, give it to him, and then save yourself billions of dollars in tariffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Casey, are you familiar with the biblical story of the golden calf?
Tell me, Kevin. Remind me. It's been a few years since Vacation Bible School.
Well, basically, this is a statue that was made by the Israelites to worship in Moses' absence. And it symbolizes the temptation of worshiping tangible material things over the unseen and abstract divine. And I think everyone at Apple in their senior leadership should familiarize themselves with the story of the golden calf, because it didn't end well. Didn't end well.
But no spoilers here on the Hard Fork Show. All right.
That's my weekly mandatory Bible
That's
reference.
our weekly sermon.
I think we have one more story. Oh, no, two more stories.
All right. I think this is your turn.
Oh, this is a good one. Google Gemini struggles to write code, calls itself a disgrace to my species. This one's from Ars Technica, and it says that during a recent debugging session with a user, Google's Gemini AI model became overly self-critical after it failed to fix a problem with code it was trying to write. It followed up this quote by writing, "I am a disgrace," more than 80 times. Google said this was a, quote, looping bug that affects less than 1% of Gemini traffic, and they've been working to fix it.
First of all, absolutely do not fix this. I have never been so delighted by Gemini as I was reading this story. I mean, has anything ever been more relatable than an AI that is working really hard on a problem and can't quite get it right, and it does a lot of negative self-talk?
Yeah. Yes. This made me think that AI is ready to replace journalists, because this is my internal monologue.
Yeah,
I'm a disgrace. No one will ever love me.
The amount of self-loathing in the journalism profession is quite high. If this were like available in the model picker, I would pick it.
Yes, this is not a mess at all. This is a feature, not a bug.
Feature, not a bug. Non-mess. Absolute non-mess. What a delight. Thank you, Gemini.
You think you just fell out of a
sorry.
tree?
All right. And finally, and this one isn't really a mess, Kevin, so much as it is one final derailing. We wanted to sort of take a moment today to pay respect to a legend. And that legend is, of course, AOL dial-up internet service, which is now being taken offline after more than 3 decades of service. For so many of us elder millennials, AOL was our first entry onto the internet. And I believe we have a clip that if I'm right, is going to trigger a massive wave of nostalgia in some of our listeners who are roughly our age, Kevin.
Let's play it one last time. God.
I mean, I literally just traveled back in time 30 years.
This is the sound of childhood.
This is the sound of happiness. It's realizing the whole wide world web was out there. Someone should make a dance remix of that and release it today. I bet it would slap.
Now,
it sounds like a Skrillex song.
It does. Now, for our younger listeners, that was
what did
the
we just hear?
sound of an AOL dial-up modem connection. And when Casey and I were just young lads, sitting there at our parents' desktop computers dialing into AOL, we had to sit through that sound. But that meant that you were going online, a magical place where anything was possible.
Yeah, and crucially, when you were online, no one could call your house.
Yes.
And so your parents would say, hey, you need to get off of there. Grandma, I was trying to get through.
Yes.
Man.
Oh, I'm so sad about this. So this is being discontinued as of September 30th. And Casey, the most surprising part of this story to me was that in 2023, an estimated 163,000 households in the United States were using dial-up internet access.
It's so amazing. And I'm going to guess that the majority of those people actually stopped using dial-up internet access sometime in the 2000s and just forgot to cancel their subscription. And so really, like, AOL is effectively going to be giving back like tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands maybe even, to all of these customers now who have unwittingly been lining the pockets of AOL for years.
Casey, what are your most fond memories of the AOL dial-up internet service?
So for reasons that I don't even remember, we were not an AOL family. We were an MSN family, a Microsoft Network family. So like we had the kind of off-brand internet service that was like fine, but I never was like in the sort of, you know, dangerous chat rooms that AOL was famous for, really any of that. But you were on AOL.
Yes, I was an AOL kid.
What are some of your AOL memories?
Well, I remember that it was a big deal when you got to go on AOL, because you had to fight for that with your sibling if you had one, or, you know, you had to like, you know, find a time when like no one else wanted to be on the phone. And so it was like this sound that meant that you were going to the internet. And like the internet was like not this ambient thing that was always happening around you. It was like a place that you had to click a button to go. And once you were there, you would like get charged by the minute. And so you would kind of like spend your whole day sort of like stacking up like tasks that you wanted to do when you got online, so that when you got online, you could like go do them as quickly as possible and like not eat up your parents' monthly AOL dial-up budget.
Right, and keep in mind, these modems were so slow that it was like you were truly sipping the internet through a straw.
Yes.
Right? You just downloading an image might take a minute, you know, like the way that making an image in ChatGPT does today. So, yeah, a lot of fun memories.
I spent a lot of time in those chat rooms.
Yeah.
I played a lot of online chess because I was what they call a loser. And I had like even an email account on that. So I probably will lose access to that when
And
they
do you want to say
discontinue
what the
service.
email address is so people can get in touch?
Yes. If you're interested in getting in touch with the 11-year-old me, you can email bigkevman1999@AOL.com. Please don't email that address. It's going to go to someone else.
Oh, Big Kev Man. Well, R.I.P. AOL. And with that, America is now just permanently online.
Can we hear one more AOL goodbye sound?
Yeah, let's hear that goodbye sound one more time.
Goodbye.
And he really said it all right there.
I'm crying.
Yeah.
So emotional. Take us back.
And that's Hot Mess Express. Hey, that's the end of this clip. If you liked what you saw, head on over to our page and subscribe, and you can get the full podcast. We do a show like this almost every week on tech and the future. Head on over there now and subscribe.